All right, so I would proceed ahead with one of the last topic of this, not one of the last topic of this important section, functions. So sometimes we do not know how many arguments a function would require. I gave an example in another section, but I'd like to ask, like, do you know any practical example? Practical example where you interact with the system and the system does not know how many inputs you will be providing. You use it very frequently.
Like a Google search engine
I mean, when you type in any search thing, so it means like you're triggering with one input that you're passing. And then when you make a new search, it will call that function again. Yeah?
But is it like a password, like for like your email account?
Which means that it doesn't know that how many times we will enter the correct password.
Yeah.
So we keep on giving it. So, but we will be providing so password, if you're thinking password, it could be like a function which is accepting one input. Now it depends on you that you are inputting one string for 10 characters or 100 characters. So it is still accepting one input. So it knows that you're passing one input. Yeah.
The calculator.
Calculator, how do you think?
Like you're inputting, you could input like 2 numbers, you could input like 3 numbers.
To add something or to subtract something. Yeah, that could be a good example. But what happens behind the scene, you will study in other course, computer architecture, basically. Even though you have written a plus b plus c plus d, or 5 plus 4 plus 6 plus 7, for example, 4 inputs, it breaks down into pieces and always perform operation with the 2 operands. So it will first perform 2 plus 3, and then whatever the result is will be added into the next one. So this is how it is executed behind the scene. Yes. Uh, so it's just like a search engine. You may input anything, but we are talking about any number of input. So whenever you call in a search, you just enter anything, and then when you enter a message again, that it's not an example of a function. I believe so, because we are interacting it back and forth. So how many of you goes to McDonald's? Great. Do you order your sandwich yourself? So when you order a sandwich, do you add toppings in it? Yeah, sometimes not. Everybody has a different taste. Everybody has a different choice. So don't you think that system is expecting number of inputs? One of the user may be providing no toppings, and maybe other one might be providing 2 or 3 or 4 toppings. So that is one good example for such a system, when the system does not know how many number of arguments user will be providing. Okay. So let's see here as an example. So how we define the arbitrary number of arguments is with the help of a keyword, asterisk, and args is a standard name given to this arbitrary number of arguments. It is not required that you should be using args. You can give it your name, or maybe asterisk CSE or whatever. But it's a standard practice that you should be using this thing. I mentioned that already, that you should be making a habit of using the standard naming, using standard namings in your program. So it actually collects the number of parameters. It could be 1, it could be 100 in a container, and that container is generally referred as tuple. We will be talking about it later, it's a separate topic. But just to give you an example here, let's say we have a function, make sandwich, and it is taking one input bread, another one meat, and the third one is we do not know how many number of arguments user can pass. Okay, so we define it with the asterisk, and you can give it any name, but args is the standard naming convention. Then you have a print statement, and then you are already familiar with this if structure and for loop. So you are not familiar with this thing so far, but we will talk about it later. So when you call this function make sandwich, we pass some value which will be assigned to this parameter bread, and then turkey will be assigned to meat, and then mayo will be assigned to this container. Okay, so see how it executes the code. So first of all, it will pick up the value assigned to meat, which is in this first example turkey, on sourdough, because we passed sourdough, and then it will give a space at the end. Rather than changing line, we are providing a space. So it will print this thing first, and then it will proceed ahead to check the len. So len is a built-in function which checks the size of the container. It's just like you could have given a name, steric U-Haul container, and then you're checking the U-Haul container size. Okay? So len function is a built-in function which helps you determine the number of entries or the number of components, number of elements in that container. Okay, so what this code is doing, it is checking whether this container, which stores additional parameters, has a value greater than 0, which means if it is 1 or greater than 0, then what it does, it will print an X statement with and then give a space. So now your message would be by this line of code, it will be turkey on sourdough with, and then it will look for how many number of parameters are there. So this looping convention, I'm not going to describe it right now, but it will keep looping and keep printing everything that you have passed. So in the first call, it will print turkey on sourdough with mayo. And in the second call, you pass wheat, chicken, mayo, tomato, lettuce, and so on. Okay? So you can pass 3 arguments, 300 arguments, or whatever. There's no limit to it. Okay, so this is how it works. Yep. Line number what? 8. It is changing line. So once it prints this thing, so see, it will print turkey on sourdough with, and then it will process how many number of arguments have passed. So it will print whatever extra, I'm not going into details first, extra will contain that value that we have passed, okay? So it will print extra and then give it a space in case we have more extra toppings. And if there are no toppings, then this empty print will just change the line. So it will change the line, and next time when you call it, it will start printing from here. Okay? If you do not change the line, what will happen is it will still append a space at the end, and next time when you call it, it will start printing from here onwards. Okay? Good question. Yep.
In line 1, you have the asterisk next to args, but you don't have it in the function.
We don't have what?
You don't have the asterisk next to the args in the function.
In the function call?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the function call, we do not need to define a static. It's also a very important question, yes. So first we pass the required parameters, and then as a developer, I know that whatever user will be passing will be coming to an end. So it could be whatever value 1, 2, 3, 4. While passing the parameters, arguments during the function call, we do not need to define a static. So whatever we pass in the end, it will all be packed together into the same container. Okay? Make sense? So if here in this example, in the call line number 10, there is only one item, and that will be stored in this U-Haul box container. Here, all these 3 will be packed together in this container. Okay, so the container is one, args. It contains 3 arguments in this function call.
Right. I was just asking about like the star next to args, like in line 4 and in line 6, you don't have the star.
No, we do not need to use that. So here, as a star or a static only defines that this is the container which will be containing arbitrary number of arguments. And we always refer the container with its name. Okay? Great, thanks. All right, so until this point, so there is also another thing, keyworded arguments in another type of container, where rather than passing only values, we pass the key, which is the name of the variable, and the value.